Yeah, hello everyone. We are here with our weekly podcast right now. You guys stay over there. And today we are going to do our top favorite games. For joining me today, I have Late Night CJ.
AKA Sweet Daddy in the streets.
And I also have my younger brother, Atrocitis Gaming, who I'm going to refer to as DT throughout the video.
Hello.
And yeah, we're going to talk about our favorite games. For me and DT, we're going to do our top 5, while our dad, Late Night CJ, he is going to do his Mount Rushmore or top 4 games. However, me and DT will be doing this. We'll be talking about our top games in our opinion. However, for Late Night CJ, you said you were going to go over what you believe people would genuinely have like on their top list.
Yeah, because last episode, I think that my Mount Rushmore was so tailored to what I play in particular that it was not objective in nature, when the Mount Rushmore is supposed to be more so like a general consensus instead of just what I like. I mean, because what if I had to put on Mount Rushmore Kirby,
Tiger Woods,
Zelda, what's another one? Metroid and Streets of Rage. People would have been like, really? Those are Mount Rushmore? Nah, they ain't Mount Rushmore candidates, even though they may have been mine. But I don't want to ramble.
Alright then, so DT, would you like to go first on what's your number 5? What's your least favorite of your top favorite games?
Probably Brawlhalla, because the amount of enjoyment I've gotten out of it over the years. It's been almost 3 years at this point that I've been playing the game continuously, and I still find a reason to still come back to it, even though it seems like just a Super Smash Bros. Ripoff at first sight. It's actually a lot more complicated than what Super Smash Bros. Actually is.
That's a hot take right there, if I ever heard one. Brawlhalla is the one that has like all the crossovers, right? Like they always like bring in characters from like weird, sometimes unexpected areas. Yeah. Because when Brawlhalla first came out, it was like, oh, they had their own original characters, right? But slowly over time, I noticed you playing it, they changed the logo on Xbox and PlayStation that they have Ben 10.
Well, they're not actual characters. They're more just like crossover skins.
Well,
kind of like how in Fire Emblem you can buy skins.
Who made that game?
It's an independent company, Blue Mountain Games.
Have they made any other games that I might have seen?
Most likely not. They continuously work on Brawlhalla.
Oh, so it's like their golden child in a way.
Kind of like how Mojang has only made one game, Minecraft.
Fair enough.
So, or it only works on one game.
Alright then, fair enough.
When you hit the lotto with one, you don't need to keep searching for another one.
Fair enough. Late Night CJ, what's your number 4 on what you think the general consensus of people would have for your Mount Rushmore?
Number 4. I am going to go with, see, if I want to go global, and this is real. It's like, because when I say this, a lot of people are gonna be like, I don't see it. But then that's people that usually live in the United States and don't see it for the same that globally people would see. I am gonna go with the FIFA series.
I can see that because, especially at CHB before the whole pandemic thing hit, we my campus gamers club they held the FIFA tournaments constantly.
Soccer, as we call it, is the number 1 sport in the world. Like when you watch World Cup, like there are some countries. Like I remember the first time I watched the World Cup, believe it was Germany. They sang the national anthem the entire match. They were on their feet, jumping, singing the national anthem for the full, I believe, 90 minutes. So I will have to say, globally, I'm gonna narrow it down after this.
All
But
right.
globally, FIFA is my number 4.
All right, I assume that's fair. For me, mine has actually changed over the bit from last time.
Mm-hmm.
This is mainly due to, we'll get into it later, but I guess like my number 5 is going to be Pokemon Soul Silver. Now, for any of you who don't know, Pokemon does this thing where they split their games into 2 versions, where it has some Pokemon on one side, some Pokemon on the other.
What console?
The DS, or it's like for the Nintendo line products. The most recent one is on the Switch, but the one I'm talking about is on the Nintendo DS. And every time, and that's a game I feel like I could go back to.
Did
Constant.
he just hit the dog with a wooden axe?
It's a wolf, but yes, he did. Anyways,
That wolf was minding his business. But
stop
go
it.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Pokemon Soul Silver is a game I feel like I go back to constantly because I feel like it has the most to do out of any of the Gen 4 Pokemon games. It allows you to trade fairly early on, so say if you have like another Gen 4 game, like, oh, you can't get this Pokemon until post game, but here, you can have it early. Stuff like that. I feel like I can go back to that game and have fun constantly. It has a very fun super boss at the end that harkens back to the original, where it says the trainer being red, and you fight him, and he's supposed to be the previous player character, and he's supposed to be a super boss, and he's one of the hardest bosses you can face in the Pokemon series to this date. And generally, people who play the games kind of agree to that.
Right.
So that would be my number 5. I've given some time to this, so with this, we're moving on to DT's number 4. What do you have?
Probably Mortal Kombat as a series. Generally, we had like a controller that would specifically only play Mortal Kombat, and as a kid, we would just constantly play that and try and get to Reptile, which was insanely hard.
Whoopsie!
But as even the first game we got on the Xbox One is the whole reason why we even really play games to this day, is because we got it for Mortal Kombat. And I feel like the entertainment you can get out of it, same with Street Fighter, is that it's more of like you get to fight other people and you get to see their reactions, and then you get to have personal gain from it, rather than just one of the games where there's massive tournaments that you need to win, and you can just play it for fun for hours on end with your friends or even random people.
Alright. Well, saying that, what you say as a series, but which one do you think you can go back to the most if we had access to it?
Probably Mortal Kombat X, to be honest, because 9 was a lot more confusing with the story, and then it also introduced X-rays, which was very influential in how the game plays now.
Well, the meter bar,
yeah.
at least.
And probably the reason I say Mortal Kombat X is because one of them I probably played the most, whereas Mortal Kombat 11 I kind of don't really play on the Xbox anymore. So Mortal Kombat X is the one that I put the most effort into, which is why I enjoy it the most out of all of them.
Alright, fair enough. I can see that. Alright, Late Night CJ.
Yes.
What would you be? You're narrowing it down to your number 3.
Okay, well,
What would your?
I'm gonna piggyback off my son's pick, because if you remember last week, I said Street Fighter, but I realized I did that out of nostalgia. But the reason why I swapped Mortal Kombat with Street Fighter is gaming influence for my generation. Because when Mortal Kombat 1, the original, came out, game changer. Because you had like Streets of Rage and all these other type of little fighting games or what have you. But it was very cartoony, and you fight and the people just kind of, they would blink and then disappear off of the screen. You know what I'm saying? This one was like, even though they tried to soften it by saying finish him, this was like the first game where they in essence said kill him. You know what I'm saying? They literally said, okay, in order to complete this match, not like you just beat the guy up and he starts blinking and disappears or lays on the ground and then disappears. No, they was like kill him, and then kill him in a
somewhat
a grotesque, rip your spine out, bite you in half, blow you up, turn you to ice, and then sock you and explode you. It was something that was a game changer to where the other games that came behind it changed their attack. It was a little less cartoony. It was a little bit more realistic in nature. The fighting styles is like, even when you start having like Tekken and all that, they start coming up with more characters that it's like, okay, well, we can't make King do this or something like that. Let's bring somebody else in. Or Street Fighter did the same thing. It was like everybody started adapting to Mortal Kombat. And for that reason, that's why I'm putting it as number 3 instead of Street Fighter on the Mount Rushmore, according to what I see.
Yeah, I could see Mortal Kombat kind of being like a game that everyone at least has some knowledge of. Mm-hmm. Like everyone's like they probably can't like name off characters or people or they're like, oh, if you ask like a random person off the street like, hey, do you know Mortal Kombat? Like, oh, you mean that game where you can kill people?
Well, also that was like they were so revolutionary with this game. They came up with a rating system. They were trying to ban this game for being too gory.
Well, it wasn't the only one, but it was one
at the forefront.
It was at the forefront. It's one of the ones that they constantly talk about, even kind of to this day. Oh. So I can definitely see that. And to be clear, when they say finish him, you don't have to, kill them.
And another thing,
I'm one person who does that, at least in the ranked matches.
But that's the one thing too is like when when someone was saying when you get to fighting and y'all passing the sticks around, it was almost like you got bragging rights when they said finish him and you were able to fatalicize somebody. It was just like in your face. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I could definitely see that. Alright then, moving on to...
Where's yours?
I said no, I'm moving on to mine.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I'm trying to give in some commentary here and there. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm asking the questions. Right. Moving on to my number 4. This one has actually maintained this place. Mine is Code Vein. And the reason I'm kind of saying Code Vein now is because its story is, the same, and it does give the multiple endings. I do give props for its story and gameplay. If there's one thing, this is probably not their full control. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm gonna have to keep it in its place due to the DLC. And now I probably should say that's not entirely fair. Why are you judging a game based off its DLC? The DLC is supposed to hold you over to see if they can get a sequel going. And with Code Vein being successful, you could have gotten that sequel, but the DLC left a bad taste in people's mouths. The first one, the first 2 were being the trial maps, where you just go through a series of difficult challenges. And it was like, oh yeah, this is fun, and you fight some of the bosses. They're harder, they do more damage. It's like a gauntlet. You only get to heal a certain amount of times. Yeah, that's good. And with the Hellfire Knight, that's what it's called. You fought a gigantic, even more larger than life boss than you do in the games.
I'll tell you what, when this swings back around, because my next one I'm gonna have an honorable mention in order
That's fair.
to go with y'all. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to finish a list before y'all. When I hit y'all with my honorable mention, that's before I go into my top 2.
Yeah.
It's gonna coincide with everything you're saying right now.
Yeah.
But I have a question about the Code Vein.
All right.
I know there's missions involved in it, right?
Yeah. To an extent,
You
yeah.
have to find certain things in order
To progress the story. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
How is it as far as activity level? Like, are there
Activity?
stretches where it's just you're wandering around looking for stuff with no action, or is it pretty like spot on?
In terms of what you're looking for, there in the game you don't have to truly look for anything. All you really have to do is clear an area and fight the boss, and you'll fight enemies. But in order to get like some of the better skills, to basically bond with your partners, and in some essence, to like get the best ending,
Right.
you do have to go out of your way to look for stuff, and that's why I still hold it in my top 5. I just don't like their DLC practices, because circling back around to that, the second DLC, the Frozen Empress, and I believe the Thunderstorm King. I haven't played the Thunderstorm King, but the Frozen Empress is an extremely short area with, again, recycled enemies. And the first DLC does it too, but the boss is very, very annoying to complete some of the missions unless you're a god at the game.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because clearly I don't play a lot of the games that you guys play, and from what I've seen, there's a lot of intricacies in there. And I'm not saying that the game moves like that. I was just asking, are there? Because isn't there aren't you on stage 50 or something like that?
At the time of this podcast, I'm at part 50, and I will upload it probably earlier, maybe by Christmas, most likely before that. Part 50 is going to be up, and I'm approaching the end game. Like, I'm in the last quarter of the game, not including the DLC. So with that, in terms of story, there's only the one story. The only thing that changes around is the ending and who you help.
Okay.
So that's what changes. But for me overall, Code Vein is gonna be at my number 4, mainly due to DLC practices.
Right.
I do like how the fact you can make a bunch of different characters at least closely resemble, I guess, anime or even real life if you want to get into that. But again, the DLC is what's holding it back for me, unfortunately.
Okay.
DT, what's your number 3?
Probably the Pokemon Black games, or Pokemon Black and White games.
Gen 5 in general.
Generation 5 in general. This was the first Pokemon game that wasn't necessarily a Pokemon game. It was not trying to be kid friendly. It wasn't trying to, save the world and all of that.
Well,
It was more of on an intellectual based type of thing, where it made you actually question whether it was, well, as a kid anyways, it made you question whether doing what you're told or doing what you believe is right may not always be right.
Okay.
It's focusing more on, you may have ideals, but that's not necessarily the truth and what will always happen, which is kind of like the entire story of the game.
yeah, because isn't the quote-unquote villains of the game appear at first as Pokemon PETA?
Yeah, the enemy of
What is
Pokemon
Pokemon?
You know the organization PETA, right?
Oh.
People against for the ethical treatment of animals.
Yeah.
Well, the enemies of the game are essentially PETA, but for Pokemon.
Well, the villain of the game, if you can call him a villain, is basically a friend to the Pokemon. He is the one who can talk to them. You never really see it, but it's understood that he can talk to them. And he doesn't like them being captured in Pokeballs and being forced to battle.
Oh, okay.
And the whole point is that you're supposed to fight this guy, but he wants all Pokemon to be happy. But you think that, you know, Pokemon can be happy if they're with humans as well.
Right.
And you're kind of going at each other because you're both right, but you're fighting because you're not agreeing.
And it's almost like Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, and this
we're not
villain
into that.
is being manipulated
It's just
by the person who took him in.
Like the true villain of the game being Getsis, who looks more far like a villain. He's just like your generic evil supervillain, and the character he's talking about is the one who's like, I want Pokemon to be happy. I do not like them being forced to battle. It's more of a, it's not parasitic, symbiotic relationship. Because
the reason why I said like Republican and Democrat, not on as a political, but it's like you got two entities that in theory are working for the greater good, but they have opposing
ideals on how to do it.
Right.
Yeah, like
that's what I meant. Not like
I know what you mean. Like we're just trying not to get political here. Yeah. This is just our opinion.
It's kind of like imagine your bakery, right? Mm. You make stuff for the people,
right?
And you know, for them to enjoy it,
right?
But some other person wants people to enjoy their lives too, right?
Mm.
But they see that you're like a part of capitalism.
Mm.
So you're directly funding a system that makes people unhappy.
Right.
Which is kind of how it is. Like, you're a Pokemon trainer in this game.
Uh-huh.
You're supposed to make your Pokemon happy, battle with them, you know, grow a bond with them.
Mm.
But he wants Pokemon to be happy without being forced to be in Pokeballs or forced to battle with other Pokemon.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
I get that.
Yeah, Gen 5 is.
What console is that on?
Nintendo DS.
DS.
Okay.
And I guess we're kind of trying to forward this along. You said you picked the black version of the game. This is something that me and my brothers have always done. He picks one version, I pick the other, so that way we can complete it, like the Pokédex, so we can fully complete it and everyone's happy and having fun. But sometimes that always doesn't go down. He likes the games now, he just doesn't have the chance to play them as often, unfortunately. Late Night CJ, what's your honorable mention? Like the one you throw in the middle of the list. What's your honorable mention first?
My honorable mention will kind of go with what we're watching right now and your last pick.
Okay.
And in actuality, I could have made this the fourth on the Mount Rushmore.
Mm-hmm. And
for this reason, I am swapping FIFA to make that my honorable mention. So I'm kind of backtracking. I'm going to make this one my number 4 and then Mortal Kombat my number 3. Okay, so yeah, we're putting in reverse right now. I am going to say, and I'm saying this, everything that I'm picking spawned off other games in concept. The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, so like the action adventure game, the one you explore?
Look at this right here.
Minecraft.
Right? Minecraft. Even, I mean, well, not so much that. I'll say it like this. It was the first big mission-based adventure game. You had to find this potion. You had to have the scroll. You had to talk to this person. You couldn't beat this level until you talked to this person and take this back over here. You had to push the rock out the way to uncover a secret trapdoor that goes underneath in order to finish the level. Otherwise, you were walking around this whole world aimlessly because you didn't know to push that rock over in order to get the stairwell to go downstairs to talk to this person. And a lot of the mission-based adventure games that I'm calling them, you know what I'm saying? That is the template for a lot of those games. You have like these worlds you have to go discover. You have to complete these missions and these objectives in order to progress through the game. There is no just fight the boss at, going from the left side of the screen to the right, and then the boss is 2 stages down on the right side of the screen, and you beat him, and then you have to do things in order to get there. You could beat the boss and still not beat the level.
Yeah, I can understand it.
And that made Zelda my number 4 on Mount Rushmore. Mortal Kombat was number 3, and my honorable mention got swapped, and that's FIFA because of the global aspect. But I just mid podcast, I changed
your list.
I changed not just the list, but the objective of the list is like each one of the faces, so to speak, of
a genre
they spawned off. They're like the grandfather of certain games. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I could definitely see that because Legend of Zelda. To this day, I've only completed one Legend of Zelda game, and that was withheld. But I could definitely see that because Minecraft is not exactly like that.
But look at the layout of what he's doing.
Like he has to go. Minecraft is different because Minecraft has for a while it's like a fun little sandbox game. You can just kind of screw around in and play with your friends. Like the quote unquote objective to beat the Ender Dragon is it's not necessary at all. Like you have no time limit. You can do whatever you want. You could spend 2,000 in-game days just building your own kingdom if you want to. But yeah, I understand the whole meaning of Legend of Zelda was the face of the action adventure genre.
It's spawned off so many different games.
Yeah,
not necessarily with the Zelda banner.
Yeah, but the type of gameplay.
Exactly. Right there, look right there. That on Zelda you used to have to do that. You could see you had the bow and arrow, you had the potion, the healing potion. You had all of that. You used to be able to go out the screen and see all that you had there. You could see the map. Yeah. How many games now have where you can go to a different screen and see your map and your inventory at the same time?
Not a whole lot.
There's a lot of games where you...
Well, let me rephrase that. I don't play a lot.
Right there, look, he just busted out a map. Yeah. And he just looked, and there's his inventory.
You could do it, but he's not doing it, all at the same time, I should say. But I definitely understand what you're going for. Mm-hmm. Alright, moving on to my number 3. This has actually been knocked down 2 pegs, in my opinion. That being Dragon Ball FighterZ. Knocked down from number 1 to number 3. Yeah, I've given it a bit more thought. The only real reason I say that was my favorite game was, or one of the reasons, it was
playing it that day.
Because I was playing it that day, and even though they got 2 DLC characters coming out within the next year, one of which I'm super excited to play, the only reason I kind of go back to the game is due to the combat and the way it fights. I don't go back to the game for the story, because if I'm being honest, the story isn't the best. Because me and DT, we played through the story, and it's not the best story ever. It's like Dragon Ball filler, is what it is. But the character interactions are what people really remember from the game. Mm-hmm. With Frieza and Cell insulting everyone, Majin Buu not caring, Goku just kind of saying, we'll kill them later if they act out of line. And it's funny, that's what people remember from the game. But from story-wise, but people are oh yeah, the gameplay is very good, the DLC characters are fun, and that's the other reason DLC characters, certain ones, they're just too broken, they're too strong to fight against, or you have to put an enormous amount of time and effort into the hours. In the span of a week, I went up 2 ranks because I sat down and for an hour or 2 a day, I just did ranked matches, and within 2 or 3 weeks, I'm bam, I'm at one of the highest ranks in the game. Because it's not that hard if you just put a little bit of time. But that's my opinion. Is it still a fun game? Absolutely. The character interactions are funny. I like playing as some of the characters. One character is really strong for no reason, even though he's super weak in the show and doesn't fight anymore. But yeah, it's a fun game for me to just kind of sit down and play. If I want to take my mind off, I don't know, school or whatever stupidity I happen to see that day.
So, is there an opportunity for just mindless fighting on the game?
To an extent, yeah, because at the lower ranks, it's a lot of mashing unless you're using a Smurf account. Like
Smurf account.
a Smurf account would be like, say, in the rank, the highest rank I believe right now is Zeno, which means you have to have an enormous amount of points in the game. And basically, this is the only game you play. That's it. Like all my times in this game, I don't play anything else. In order to get a Smurf account would be if I took that rank, started a new profile, and the new profile was at, I believe, Cyberman, which is like the weakest one. And I just go in and smoke everybody because I'm using a fake account, essentially. I'm not showing my real power. That's what a Smurf account is.
Yeah, I see. That happened to me on that pool game that I played. Person got like, oh yeah, they're like ranked 3, and they only got like $400 in the bank, but they're making like 5 cushion shots and all this. I'm like, now hold up, man, you ain't just start playing this right now doing that. You probably got bored, had like $1 billion in one account, started another one, but still got the same skills.
Yeah, that it happens more often than you think. Like in a multitude of different fighting games, like for Dark Souls, for example, if I say my skill level is way above, I got like high level rank, weapons, skills, or items.
You shouldn't be talking about that game.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna mention that game again.
No, it's not on the list. Dark Souls is not on the list.
Oh.
I like that game. It's just like I go in there for, again, mindless fun.
Okay.
I do mess with people. Like I have been the person who used the high level weapons and damage at low areas because I like screwing with people.
Are you saying you killed with a sledgehammer?
Nothing like that, but let's just say I have very good end game gear, but I go to beginning areas and kill everyone because it's funny for me.
Oh my goodness.
Is it rude? Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying I'm a saint in that game. I'm just saying it's fun for mindless fun for me.
Oh yeah, I just want to let everybody know listening, I ate prior to us recording this because normally I be eating like a madman all in the microphone, crunching and
slurping coffee. We've all eaten. We are recording this pretty late in the day.
Yes.
And my brother DT is just like a quiet person in general. That's why he's not really jumping in and explaining like his choices or confirming. Anyways,
really explaining past what my reason for it is.
We're on number 2 now, right? Alright then, DT.
The top 2.
Alright, DT, what's your second favorite game to play?
I'm choosing a lot of series because a lot of them are just, multiple games.
Series is cool.
Yeah, series. If you like the series, that's perfectly fine.
Top second game category, I guess you can say, is most likely the Sonic games.
Wait a minute, damn it! Did you look at my list?
I'm pretty sure he just listened. He wasn't looking, but
you know what?
I thought of these
I did tell him last week. I said, "Hey, we got a week." I asked him, "You want to join us?"
You know what this is? This is clearly. We've been around each other.
You said Street Fighter last week, not just Mortal Kombat, then you copied Mortal Kombat.
Well, it's like, geez, we must be related and live in the same house.
Last week, I said I was wrestling between the two. But I feel you. Go ahead. Because we might be picking this as number 2 for different reasons.
Well, the reason I choose the Sonic series instead of something else that I would usually play instead of Brawlhalla, which is what people most likely see me playing. The reason I choose Sonic as number 2 is because the amount of games that have come out and the amount of time that I put into certain games to get full completions, or
Cried. I apologize for that. If you heard that, my computer is dying, so I need to grab an extension recorder real quick. Be right back. You gotta keep
there behind the couch?
Keep talking, DT. I'm sorry.
So, the reason is because there's so many games, and regardless of what people think of the game or the original reaction that people have to it, I still find a way to enjoy these games no matter what. When people said they didn't like, what was it? Sonic Forces?
Sonic Forces.
They said it was...
A lot of the Sonic games people don't like,
yeah, but
the recent one I believe is Sonic Forces.
It was too short, there wasn't really any story, it felt like, just regular copy and paste Sonic game. But to be honest, I enjoyed it. I played it like pretty much all the way through in like a week, which is not normally something you do unless it's like just a run across Sonic game. Sonic Generations. My brother remembers me playing it so many times just randomly and asking him to play it. Yep. Regardless of how interesting it was. It was just basically old Sonic and new Sonic. I would still play that for hours on end, still try to get the best times, get an S rank on everything, even though there's literally no point besides, one achievement. If I got hit, I would restart. No matter what, I would still find a way to... I would still find a reason to play Sonic. And I think it was one of the first games that I ever played because you got a Sega Genesis controller. Or like box.
Like the Sega Classic Hits, I believe it was called.
Yeah. Literally one of the first games I had ever played. So that's the reason I'm choosing Sonic. The amount of enjoyment, how long I've been playing it, pretty much since I was like 4 or 3. I've been playing it for pretty much 14 years at this point, which is why it's my number 2, but not my number 1.
Alright. Late Night CJ. What is your number 2?
I'm piggybacking off what he said. It has the amount of games that they have. They found a way to have. Now, that some people might say this is an oxymoron if I'm using this term properly. They have found a way to navigate with simplistic complexity. Like, there's not a lot of combinations for Sonic.
True.
Speed dash, jump.
They've added the boost in recent years.
Or you can jump in the air and you hit the button again and you can like spin it and you kill somebody.
The homing attack, the
shield. But it doesn't really veer off like say with Mortal Kombat, right? When they introduced the juggling.
Yeah.
How you had that, okay, back A, Y, A, this, act, and then it's like, oh man, I didn't finish the combination.
Okay.
With Sonic, it's like, I'll give you an example. And that is going to tie into my number 1 when I get to it, which I'm pretty sure now, based upon how good me and him are going to have the same number 1. But, it's one of those games. You don't need a lot of back information, a back story to get on it and have fun. You literally can start on level 1 on Sonic with 0 experience in the game and progress through it. A lot of games, it's like, if it's not your particular genre, you can get into it and be like, I don't like this game. There's not enough action. Or this is too much action. I like more of a story. Or there's like Sonic, you could just, if you ain't got nothing to do and you just want to just have like some mindless fun, just navigating, I'd give it, some of the Sonic games have been air balls. Like for me, that one y'all played that one time where
Generations that DT was just talking about. The one where you said it gives. Yeah, I know I screwed up.
The first time y'all played that joint where I almost passed out and threw up because it was giving me vertigo, I was like, what the hell's going on? Was that the one?
Yeah, it was Generations.
Okay, and that one got me. I liked it, but I just couldn't, I'm from a different era. We went from
Couldn't keep up with it because it's just moving all around.
Right, and I'm stationary. It's like, so my eyes and my brain are trying to process all this movement, left to right, up, down, spinning and all this, but I'm stationary. You know what I'm saying? So like my brain was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, for me, the Sonic game, I want to say, is more of a guilty pleasure because the game is bad. Everyone agrees it is Sonic.
Well, what I was trying to say was, before you go into that one, is that this is where I was talking about is generational. When there are a lot of young games, especially for say Walrus, or as he likes to be called, Five, he came in on games being like that. While me, I came in on games where, like I said, you go from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. Fighting games. If you were first player, you were on the left. Second player, you were on the right.
Yeah.
And that was it. So now when the screen is moving in a 3D type thing, it's like my mind was not conditioned to process that type of information as quickly as it was happening. And my body, I was just like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, like.
But, you know, to stay on point, Sonic, because he pretty much, you know, said everything that I would have said about it, is my number 2 on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Like how late night CJ said, her dad's like, some games have been airballs. Like for Sonic Forces, for some people it was an airball. For DT, it was like, alright, it was a bit of a hard in, but like I still had fun. For me, it's kind of the same way with Sonic 06 or Sonic the Hedgehog on Xbox 360. The quote-unquote next-gen game that they spent years on was rushed. It was a bad game.
Sonic Racer or something.
Sonic Team. It wasn't like specifically Sonic. They made that later, but they had Sonic and Sega All Stars. So it was like the major players within like Sega's library, but Sega's primarily known for Sonic. But yeah, it's okay. I wouldn't say it's the worst thing I've ever played. Don't get me wrong. I do like playing certain Sonic games. Sonic Generations being the one I like going back to the most. But it's fun. Moving on to my number 2. This one's gonna be.
Something.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Out of the Sonic games, we were mentioning, or when I would mention a series, we would say, "Oh, out of your favorite, right?"
Yeah.
Particularly, it would be either Sonic Colors, Sonic Lost World, or Sonic Generations.
Which version of Colors? Because I do know there's 2.
The Wii version, obviously, and then the Wii U version of Lost World because it's a lot more cinematically pleasing.
Despite the fact that you actually have a run button.
Yeah, but it's a lot better to see it rather than on a tiny screen, because I remember having Sonic Colors on the Nintendo DS and I enjoyed it, but then when I went to the Wii version I was like, this is way better. So seeing that is like pretty much the console versions win it over, and it's why I enjoy those the most.
If I had to jump in on this before I move on to my number 2, I personally like the DS version of Colors more, simply because they had a quote-unquote super final boss on there, which the Wii version didn't have.
What, Dr. Eggman?
No. In Colors, I'm gonna speed through this. Dr. Eggman's using the life energy of these creatures called Wisps, and at the end of it, he used so much life energy that the mother of all of them, it went crazy. So you have to use the power of Supersonic to fight the Wisp mother, who is corrupted. Which personally I thought was cool, because in the Wii version you just have Supersonic if you find all the red rings and complete everything in Eggman's arcade land.
Yeah. Red rings?
Like there's special rings that show up in the stage that you need to collect to unlock like little different types of music and
see,
all
that's
that.
why I feel like an old man, because I just got regular rings and chaos symbols. I kill people.
The reason I choose the Wii version is because they're pretty much the same game, except for the final boss. And I feel like the Wii version is much more enjoyable and much more visually pleasing, whereas the DS version is more of like if you want to run through it and you get some extra content at the end.
You know what? Side note, let me ask you this: when you using the Wii console, do you feel more like a part of the game? More so than when you just have a regular controller, because like with the Wii, you actually have to complete movements that you could just, when you play on a video game, I could literally just sit on the couch with the controller, say a wireless controller in particular.
Yeah.
And with it right here under this blanket, just like, and not even move, but it's like with the Wii, you gotta be involved.
It depends on the game. Like for example, one game that I really love, which I feel is underrated, but it's not on this list. I guess you want to say it's honorable mention. Michael Jackson, The Experience.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine all the faces and people in class when the fat kid beat them all in a dancing game.
I'm just saying, it's like, remember we would play on the Wii, and it's like if you were out of the range a little bit,
It wouldn't read your
wand,
movements.
and you're like, I did that.
It depends on the game, because when they first started off, yeah, the Wii required you to have
Bowling, remember we were bowling and all of that?
It required your movements, but later games they're like, okay, you can use the controller if you want to.
What happened with that little camera that they had? Which one was
The Xbox, for the Xbox, the Kinect.
that? Yeah, the sensor.
We still have it. We still have the sensor bar.
No, not that. It was like, I remember, wasn't that the one where you might not need the wand?
Yeah, for the Wii U, we still have it. You don't need it. Like, you don't need the Wii controller.
You're talking about the gamepad, the Wii U gamepad?
Nah, not the gamepad. Remember they had like it was like the first one was like a little strip like this.
Yeah, it's a sensor bar.
Okay, and then remember they came out. I think it was the Kinect. Like
The Kinect was on
That
Xbox.
was on Xbox.
Okay.
The Kinect is actually
they tried
worse.
To copy it.
Yeah, they tried to copy it. It was worse because it captured full body movement.
Yeah.
While I had fun with it, it was definitely significantly worse.
Yeah, that's right. I know they kind of went. It was that whole.
Try to copy it.
Not to get too far. You notice like these consoles kind of piggyback. And
Oh yeah, they absolutely do.
And then they shoot an air ball and be like, you know what? Let's go back to it.
Yeah.
Remember,
Nintendo's the one that usually sticks the landing, but everyone kind of fumbles along the way.
because there was a whole little thing right there where they had like the GameCube, then Sega tried to come out with like the Sega Saturn, and then somebody came out with a Dreamcast.
That was Sega again.
Yeah, they was like, oh, brick.
Yeah, but yeah, like Sega was like constant brick after brick after brick, but I feel like we're kind of like veering off topic again.
It's
Feel like, but not now.
It's
It's gonna
Let's
need
get
to
to
next.
your second pick.
Yeah, I think Dad was Sonic, and all right, my second pick is gonna be a series. It's not Sonic, in case everyone was wondering. Mine is the Kingdom Hearts series. This one has, I say, earned its place at number 2 over Dragon Ball FighterZ because while the story is simple for like someone like me who's like, oh, I get this, and I was like, what, you get this? That's mainly because I have put an exorbitant amount of time into the series.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played all the games even at this time, even though I have like most of them at my disposal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, I really like this game, but I don't have enough space on the Xbox to play it.
Right.
So, it's a fun series. I do like the lore aspect of it. I do like how it conflicts with the ideas of light and darkness
What is
to
the
an
premise
extent.
of the game?
It depends on which one you're talking about, but the premise of the first game is like this boy Sora and his two friends Riku and Kairi. They want to leave the island they're on because it's boring and it's just the islands and water everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole idea they just want to go out and explore worlds. The worlds are the other Disney areas, some of them being Final Fantasy, and they want to go out there because they want to do something with their life because they're around like 14, 15. And like, this is boring. I'm kind of sick of living here. I'm grossly oversimplifying this. But a storm happens, and one of their friends gets lost, Kairi, and Riku's like, no, this is our chance to leave. We have to go. But Sora's like, no, I want to find Kairi. And the whole premise of they get knocked into different worlds, and Sora's like, I need to find my friends, because he can't find Riku, he can't find Kairi. He's like, okay, the whole premise is like, I need to find my friends. But later it becomes to stop this guy who plays 5D chess with everyone. 5D chess. Not 4D chess, not 3D chess. He's playing 5D chess because his brain's too big, being Master Xehanort.
Oh.
I'm just leaving it at that because we're actually kind of... I'm going to have to extend this a bit longer because we're almost exploring an hour at this point.
It's dope. So, coming up...
For number one...
No, hold up. Donovan, you didn't...
you did it.
Hey, I'm exempt when it comes to this type of stuff.
Yes.
Did you give an honorable mention?
I was about to give one.
Okay, my bad.